day everyone! Today we're going to talk to you about the history of early Christian architecture and its influence to the fields of architecture. Let's get started. Now let's talk about the early Christian of architecture. In the 4th century, the rapidly growing Christian population, now supported by the state, needed to build a large and grander public buildings for worship than the most discreet meeting place they have been using, which were typically in or among domestic buildings.
The usual model at hand when Emperor Constantine I wanted to memorialize his imperial piety was the familiar conventional architecture of the basilica. There were several variations of the basic plans of the secular basilica, always some kind of rectangular hall, but the one usually followed for churches had a center nave with one aisle at each side and an apse at one end opposite to the main door at the other. This was the normal pattern used for Roman churches and generally in the Western Empire, but the Eastern Empire and Roman Africa were most adventurous, and their model were sometimes copied in the West. All variations allowed natural light from windows high in the walls, a departure from windowless sanctuaries of the temples of most previous religions, and this has remained a consistent feature of Christian church architecture. Formulas giving churches with large central areas were to become preferred in Byzantine architecture, which developed styles of basilica with a dome early on.
Early Christian art and architecture, or Paleo-Christian art, is the art produced by Christian or under Christian patronage from the earliest period of Christianity to, depending on the definition used, sometime between 260 and 525. In practice, identifiable Christian art only survives from the 2nd century onwards. After 550, at the least, Christian art is classified as Byzantine or some other regional type.
It is hard to know when distinctly Christian art began. Prior to 100, Christians may have been constrained by their position as persecuted group from producing durable works of art, since Christianity was largely a religion of the lower class in this period.
Early Christian art and architecture, or Paleo-Christian art, is the art produced by Christians or under Christian patronage from the earliest period of Christianity to, depending on the definition used, sometime between 260 and 525. In practice, identifiably Christian art only survives from the 2nd century onwards. After 550 at the least, Christian art is classified as Byzantine or of some other regional type. Among the motifs adopted were the peacock, grapevines, and the Good Shepherd. Early Christians also developed their own iconography. For example, such symbols as the fish were not borrowed from pagan iconography.
Early Christians used the same artistic media as the surrounding pagan art culture.
These media include fresco, mosaics, sculpture, and manuscript illumination. Early Christian art not only used Roman forms, it also used Roman styles. Late classical styles include a proportional portrayal of the human body and impressionistic presentation of space. Late classical style is seen in early Christian frescoes, such as those in catacombs of Rome, which include most examples of the earliest Christian art.
Sige, salita ka lang. Early Christians adopted Roman motifs and gave new meanings to what had been pagan symbols.
The lack of surviving art may reflect a lack of funds for patronage and simply small numbers of followers. The Old Testament's restrictions against the production of graven images may also have constrained Christians from producing art. Christians may have made or purchased an art with pagan iconography, but given it Christian meanings, as they later did. If this happens, Christian art will not be immediately recognizable as such.
The end of the period of the early Christian art is typically defined by art historians as being in the 5th to 7th centuries. It is thus a good deal later than the end of the period of early Christian as
typically defined by theologians and her church historians, which is more often considered to the end under Constantine around 313 to 325.
Okay na.